Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Mind, Your Reality, Your Results, a weekly live show where I speak with an expert in the subject of mindset so you can change your mindset and ultimately get the amazing results that you want in your life. If we haven't met yet, my name's Leah Fink. I'm the owner and founder of All Thrive, and I help protect people from the pain of damaged relationships. If you're curious about that at all, I would love to connect, so please reach out and let's have that conversation. But today I am so excited to be welcoming Pat to the show. Welcome.
Hey there, Leah. It's great to see you, and it's great to be a part of your show. I love what you're focused on, and at the end of the day, it comes down to relationships, doesn't it?
It does, and you know a lot about this because what we're going to be talking about today, of course, is
Yes.
quite deeply related. So you guys won't want to miss this. Please, if you have questions, you have the benefit of having Pat here with us right now. You can ask those questions, add your comments. Also, even if you're watching this and we're not live anymore, feel free to put those in because we can still get back to you with an answer. So, yeah, I love inviting people at the beginning to start sharing where you got your expertise, how you got into human design.
No, actually, yes. So, yes, I love human design for business. I am a business consultant. I work with women-owned businesses who have three or more employees that are looking to develop a culture, take their business to the next level, and do it while honoring who they are and their unique design. And I fell in love with human design, I would say 4 years ago when I personally had an opportunity to get an overview as part of a bonus on a retreat. And I just learned so much about myself and and felt this sense of freedom of like, yeah, that's me. That's what makes me tick. And being able to honor that going forward and just the difference, the transformation that it made in my life by just knowing a little bit more about myself at a deeper level, has made all the difference. And I said, I have to learn this. I want to use this in my business. And it's one of the first steps that we take when women entrepreneurs work with me is having that human design for business overview and find out what makes them who they are and how they're meant to show up in the world. I'm also a speaker. I'm a trainer and an author. This is my first bestseller, Catherine's Quest. One Woman's Journey to Elation. Yay! I'm so excited. So it is a book on resilience and self-leadership and can be bought off my website, majesticcoachinggroup.com.
Fantastic. Well, I'm particularly excited to speak with you about this because I also, in a slightly different vein, had a great experience where I, as part of a personal development weekend, got to do True Colors, which is a
Yes,
personality typology, which
yes.
touches on, I'm sure, many similar things, and I found it very useful. Like I facilitate it now because I also found it useful as a tool to get to know yourself, as a way of building empathy with others. So I'm really curious how the two will intersect and
Exactly.
to start out, you've kind of touched on what it is, but could you tell us a little bit more about
Yeah,
human design?
absolutely. So
Yeah.
human design for business is a system. It's an assessment and it's a tool. And it is a cross between Myers Briggs, genetics, and astrology. And in order to get your specific blueprint, we start with your birth date, your time, and your location. And then that produces a report of at least 16 elements that discover who you are and what makes you tick. And it's really like your personal user's guide, if you will, just like you get a user's guide for, any kind of appliance that you buy. Well, this is a user's guide for you. And yes, it's easy to really create and have an amazing conversation. I use it as an individual performance tool, a team performance tool, and definitely a roadmap in which to grow your business. So it's very, very powerful in the information that it provides and how you can use it throughout your entire business. And there's five different types that make up the type, if you will, of human design. And I actually ran one on you. So you are an innovator. And an innovator is someone that is always going, takes an idea, runs with idea, doesn't need permission, doesn't need anybody's support. You just kind of run with idea once it comes into your mind. And you are 8% of the population, followed by people like me, I'm a builder. and I support what you do. So I'm the doer of your ideas, and that's how we fit in. And when I work with human design, there are two really important elements of your type that I really cover right off the bat. And one of them is how you make decisions, and the second one is how do you know in your life and in your business whether you're on track or not. So what I've learned in working with women, and how we're made to make decisions is after 35 years in corporate, what I learned is that most of the decisions that we make are above the neck. They teach us, well, when you're going to make a decision, the pros and cons of every possible solution, what do the numbers say, blah blah blah, which is all left brain. And at the end of the day, the decisions that we make should really come from the heart and from the gut, because that's where the truth lies within us, is the heart and the gut. So when I talk about making decisions, I really drop into, this is where you're made to make decisions. And when you follow that, you trust your decisions and you start making decisions faster. And what I find in women that I work with is that when they know their decision-making process, not only do they make them faster, but they don't miss on opportunities. Because what I've learned is that when you're not comfortable with your decision, you tend to look for others for the decision, or you go back and forth on your decisions, or you don't make it and hope that something forces you to make a decision or it's made for you, which in the business world doesn't really work, right? You have to take responsibility and feel the decision so that you don't miss the ship when it comes in. And you're not at the airport because you're still like, well, yes or no, or what do I do? It doesn't feel good. So every person has their own unique way of making decisions. And in your particular case, your decision-making process is moved by emotion. You are moved by the emotion in the way you make decisions. And you feel it. You feel it in here to make your decisions. And you know that every decision that you make impacts other people. So you're very conscious about asking yourself, well, if I make this decision, who is it going to impact on my business? So being moved by emotions, one of the things that in working with clients like you is knowing that you want to make your decisions when you're very clear and neutral about your decisions. So you're not making your decisions when you're on your high highs or your low lows. You wait until you're in a state when you're very calm and make a decision from there. Does that resonate with you?
Well, definitely the piece about waiting for the calm. I consider myself a little bit of a thinker as well, which means also that I don't want to make those decisions, like you said, when I'm emotional. And I really appreciate that piece. Actually, I found the decision making one of the more interesting. I've got to tell you too, my mom was very curious about why I was asking about my birth time when I texted her and said, "Hey, Mom." She's going, "What the heck do you need this for?" But I particularly liked the piece about how we make decisions, and I'm curious. Can you just share really quickly the 5 decision-making types that there are?
There's actually even more than that, depending on your type. But there are some that were like for yours is the emotional, where you've got to wait for that level of clarity. You sleep on it. You wait until you get that emotional clarity, and you say, "Yep, that's the decision I'm going to go through." And there are some that make decisions immediately. They don't have to think about it. They just immediately know that this is a decision that they have to make, and they move on. Others wait for a different level of clarity. They wait for the information to come in, they sit with it, and they take in input, and then they make the decision. I'm the one that makes a decision that is totally intuitive. I will feel the decision with a uh-huh or no, and then I'll sleep on it. And then when I wake up, I'll know that that's the right decision to make. So all of the decision making on all the different types, all are below the neck. They're all intuitive. It's all about how you initially feel the decision, hear the decision, see the decision, and whether you need that time to actually process the decision to get that level of clarity in order to be able to move forward. So it's a very fascinating, and it's a different way in which we were trained to make decisions, which is let the ego make your decision, and let the ego who is there trying to keep you safe and guide you a different way make decisions. It's not that the numbers don't matter, because they do matter, but it's not the ego that's driving you to make the decisions. It's your heart and your soul that's making the decision. And so every type, there's 5 different business types that that have their own specific decision-making process. And I spend time with each one, going through each of the decision-making processes. And then I invite them to start using it, and then come back and say, okay, so when your decision-making process was, Leah, was to be emotionally calm and to sleep on it before you make a decision. So how is that working? And it's an amazing shift that I will hear. Some clients will tell me, my clients or my family, they tell me, Pat, why does it take you so long to make a decision? Why can't you be like me and make a decision like that? And they sense this pressure to make a decision that is not congruent with the way they were made. And so once they learn what their decision-making process is, then they give themselves permission to say, I have my own way of making decisions, and I'm going to make them on my time and my way. So one of the things that's important for you is in making the decision is the right time. Timing is everything for you, Leah, in your business and the way you make decisions. Timing is everything. So decision-making process is really, really important, and knowing what that is and honoring it makes a huge business and a big difference in the way that you move your business forward, because it moves it faster because you're confident in who you are and how you make them. The second important element that you learn about yourself in human design is learning and being aware of the signposts that tell you whether you're on track or whether you're off track. So for you, the 2 signposts are anger and peace. Anger and peace. So what does that mean? Is that when you are being pushed to do things you don't want to do, when people are trying to control what you do and how you do it, you respond with anger. And that immediately says that you are not on track. And you have to take a time out and go back to your decision-making process and say, okay, what is happening here? What different decision do I have to make here in order to be at peace with going forward? Because you're at peace when you're doing your things your way, in your time, and embracing the timing of the flow of how you work. How does that sound? How does that resonate with you?
It's a mix. It's interesting because, of course, I'm pulling in pieces of True Colors as we're listening to this, and kind of that cross informational piece. I mean, I'm curious, actually. Do you find a lot of people, I don't quite how to say it, like take a little time to settle with this, or what happens? Have you had people that have come up and said, "Nope, that's not me"?
Very few. I've had very few people that say that part of the blueprint doesn't really resonate with you, and then we'll say, well, what part of it does resonate with you? Why? Let's dig a little deeper into it. But out of the 5 designs, they all have a trigger of this is what's on track. This is how I can tell that I'm on track, and this is how I can tell I'm not on track. So for me, I'm what they called a business builder, and for me, it's either frustration or it's satisfaction. So when I do my work and I hit a point where I am frustrated, I immediately stop and say, I'm out of alignment here. I'm doing something that doesn't resonate with me. I'm doing something that is not in my zone of genius. I need to sit back and figure out what is it that's causing this frustration and make a pivot. Because what I want to experience in my business, and when I know that I'm on track, is a level of satisfaction. So it can be It can be peace, it can be anger, it can be frustration, it can be satisfaction, it can be sometimes resentment. So there are different types depending on there's a signpost for every single type. And it's becoming aware of what those triggers are in your life that tell you whether you're on track or off track, because we want to be in a state where we're in a higher percentage of alignment with what we do by honoring the way we're meant to make decisions and honoring the signpost that tells us when we're on track or we're off track. And the other thing about human design that it tells you is how you're meant to express yourself in the world, what kind of teams you're meant to work with, what your strengths and benefits are of who makes you, of your traits, your shadows, your strengths, so that you're tapping into all of that as you grow your business. So these are the two most important aspects that I find in working with women. That once they know how they make their decision and how they're aware whether they're in alignment in their day or not, will allow them to really be in a state where they're really enjoying what they're doing, and the business is no longer a struggle.
I really love that idea. And what's coming up for me, because of course the relationship piece, something that I think a lot about is you're bringing up all these different traits and strengths. Obviously something I work a lot with too. And the first part is this self-awareness. It's really important, like you're saying, to know, what your decision type is, what you're seeking, or what you're trying to avoid in terms of those emotions.
Yes.
And then of course the other part is, how does this interact with all the other types?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
you mentioned, of course, it's great if you can be on a team with your perfect alignment. And the reality is a lot of people in businesses might not be that way. I know you work with a lot of businesses where you have multiple employees. Can you tell me a little bit about how that interaction happens, or how you honor, say, maybe 5 different people's ways of making decisions at the same time in a group?
Exactly. So it's a great tool for team performance, and to really understand what makes your specific employee unique. Because the more you know about your employee, the more you know how to tap into what their sweet spot is, and you know how to make decisions. So when you know how your employees make decisions, when you ask an employee to get involved in a particular project, you have a conversation and you learn about how they make a decision, so that you're not forcing them to use a decision-making process that is not congruent with who they are. And they're making decisions that are in alignment with who they are, and then they'll step into their role and the decision and the activity that you want them to more easily and effortlessly. So for someone like me, you want to give me time to make a decision. So when you say, Pat, I need a decision for you now, then I just kind of like freak out. And I'm like, I would really like to sleep on this decision before I give you, whether I want to be a part of this project or not. Will you give me that time to do that? And then in honoring that, then I make decisions that are in alignment with me, and it becomes a better project, right? When we do that with employees, and you start honoring how they make decisions, how they take in information. Some people learn quickly. Some people, I'm a slow learner. So I have to read things over and over and over again in order to get it. So when you start learning how people learn taking information, what environments they work in, then you know how to position your employees in specific tasks. And what is really interesting about the team dynamics is that when you understand their individual traits, how they make decisions, how they take information in, etc., and then you put them in a team environment, they amplify different traits within the team. And they can really make a difference in how the team hums when you take time to understand the role that they play when they're in a team environment. Everybody has a specific way in which they are best engaged in a team environment. Whether they're the leader, whether they're the ones that like to set the culture, they like to set the example, they're the doers. So there's a whole dynamic in understanding at a deeper level What is it that makes your employees tick? And how do you honor the way that they're meant to show up in the way that you position them in your company? And how you honor what is an innate gift within them, within the team environment, so that you can really raise the level of the performance of a team in a very uh, I want to say logical, but it's not all logical. It's a way that using heart and soul of that particular employee, how do we engage them? How do we create a culture that honors everybody's unique style of showing up in the world? And so it makes a significant difference. It can change the dynamics of the team, the performance. People end up putting people in different jobs now once they know what their strengths are, and you allow as a manager to also let them get to know you, because that's part of it too, is allowing yourself to have your employees say, well, this is how you know when I'm on track or on track. If you come into my office and I'm frustrated, you know that somehow I am off track. And so I'm just being totally honest, right? And so when you understand that about employees and when they're on track and off track, then you can just say, time out, Leah, I sense that you're frustrated in your job, or I sense that there's a level of uneasiness in what you're doing. Let's have a conversation about what's happening in this project and how can we turn that around so you have a better sense of peace, where you feel like you're actually in control of your environment and what you want to do. And it just changes the whole conversation. So yeah, it's a very, very powerful tool for sure.
That's fantastic. I'm curious. One of the things you mentioned when you talked about team roles was leadership, and is this person the leader of the group? Is there in human design a particular type that tends to lead well, or do they each lead from their own strengths?
They lead from their own strengths. They absolutely lead from their own strengths. In your particular one, you're an influencer and a leader, and you like to set the tone. You take in information and you wait to see how it's being perceived when you work in your environments. Um, Another thing that's very important in leadership, in your style of leadership, is that you need alone time. You need alone time to be able to process what's happening in your team, you process what's happening in your business. You need to step away and be alone so that you can have that space in order to be a better leader. If you're always around people and they're always influenced and they're always trying to tell you what to do, always trying to control you, you are not happy in that environment. From time to time, you have to get away and have that space where you can spend time with yourself. And it's important for everybody to know what it takes for them to be a stronger leader. Is that what environment do you really prosper in? What do you need to actually go in and think about the bigger picture and how you want to lead people and where you want to influence and how to pay attention to the energy of those people around you? Because at the end of the day, everything that you learn about human design is about how you manage your resource, your energy, and how you lead in your business and with family members. So it's a very, very powerful tool. And it is one that I'm offering as a gift to all the listeners here. So I am offering a 30-minute human design for business overview conversation. It's based on your birthday, location, and time. And Leah, I know you're going to put the link in the chat. And I'd love to be able to really make a difference with the audience and have them understand a little bit more about who they are, what makes them tick, and how knowing your decision-making process and how you know when you're in alignment in your day can make all the difference in the world.
Well, first, oh, so many thoughts here. I really resonate with the space piece. I will admit, in the last leadership role I was in before I started my business, they like to joke because sometimes if they gave me a hard decision I knew I had to have a quick answer for, I would literally close my eyes and they'd be like, "Oh, that's Leah's thinking time," because I needed that little bubble of space, however I could get it. So definitely resonating with that. I'm really excited and I really appreciate the offer to the audience, and that is in the description. People can jump on and get that call from you and get that information. And what I really love is any way that you can explore your own understanding of yourself and of the world is fantastic. Because when you when you hear this and you go, is that me? I don't know. But even that questioning of, does
Yeah.
this feel right or does it not feel right? Or, do I see this as myself? That all teaches you something, which I just think is really fantastic.
It is, and especially when you take it in a team environment and a family environment. So my husband is an innovator like you, and when he is out of alignment, he's angry, right? He's not out of alignment, he's angry. And so for the longest time, I'm like, is he angry at me? Are you angry at me? And he would say, no, no, I'm not. I'm not angry with you. Every time I call this company, they put me on hold. I never get a straight answer. And blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. Now, so when I studied his type, I'm like, oh, it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with when things aren't in alignment for him or they're not exactly going how he wants them to, then it shows up as anger. And now I know I can ask him a question like, what's happening in your day? Or what is out of alignment in your day? Who did you just finish talking to? And then I can get an insight on how can I work through what's happening in your day right now? Because it seemed like something seems to be quite not right. And then when he's at peace and he's just going through his day and he's in a good mood, I just know, hey, he's humming today. That's fantastic. So it just really makes a difference even in relationships, because you can pick up easily those little things that tell you that something's quite not right, and you don't take them personally, right? You don't take them personally. You just say, he's living his design. Okay, I'll give him his space. He likes to be alone. I'll give him his space. And it really has changed our relationship.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm 1,000,000% in agreement. That's actually the language I use in helping people with this is you can stop taking these things personally, because they're just differences. They're not meant with ill intent. And when you can understand that, it is a huge relief on relationship. And another thing you touched on, which I think is very important, a pet peeve of mine, is when people learn things in the business setting that are essentially personal development. They're about relationship. They're about how to do better in your own life, and they're not cross applicable. And that's, personally, one of my goals is, if you're learning something like human design in the office, you should be able to go home and have the skills and the knowledge to say, and this is how I'm going to practice for the other rest of my life, right? That it's not just used in the office, it's used across your whole life, which I really love that you do that as well.
Yes, and so absolutely. So the conversation with my ideal client is, how would you like to do this for your family? We can do this for your entire family, and you will improve the relationships manyfold by just understanding and them understanding how everybody ticks, and it makes a significant difference in the relationships, because you and I know at the end of the day, it's all about relationships, and without that level of relationship and trust, everybody will make assumptions that are make assumptions that are not true.
Yep.
And then they affect the relationship down the road, and that doesn't help, right?
Yeah. Well, and the piece being too, it's very easy when you're with someone who maybe is all the same styles as you. They're the same decision style, the same relationship style, the same communication style, and you go, oh well, they've now affirmed my way of being in the world, so everyone else must be wrong and out to get me, and all of these pieces, where the real skill is understanding, like you said, understand the other types, understand these pieces and how to interact with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can move forward with everyone, because the reality is not everyone's the same.
That's right. Like for you, only 8% of the population is with an innovator. You're a small portion. The type that I am is a business builder. 70% of the population is my type. 70%. So I can gauge and know that most of the people that I have conversations with, that when I ask them to make a decision, that they're going to need time. I know that, because 70% of the population will say, I can start kind of reading, and I said, look, sleep on it, let me know, blah, 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 and then we'll move forward on it. And it's just really amazing. But your type, we need your type, because you're the go-getter. You're the one that has the idea and implements it. And small business, that is amazing, right? Because small business makes the world go round. Entrepreneurs make the world go round. And you are such a creative person. As soon as you get the idea, you want to run and make it happen. Good.
Oh man. Well, thank you so much. I was really excited to go through this with you. Obviously, I got the benefit of learning about it. I hope everyone else takes advantage of this offer as well and gets to do this half-hour session with you, because it is a really interesting way to see yourself and see the world. And I just want to thank you so much for being on the show today, Pat.
Oh, Leah, thank you so much. It's great to be around you. Leah and I are part of a mastermind group that we attend on a weekly basis, and so I've had an opportunity to get to know Leah, and I love your energy. I love your ideas, and thank you so much for asking me to be a part of your show.
Yeah. Well, it's very much my honor and pleasure, and the pleasure of our audience. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next week. And remember, every thought counts.
Yes.